Talking step families here. It's a holiday season, and so there's a lot of chaos and a lot of hurt feelings and a lot of, erratic kind of behavior, a lot of jealousy, a lot of feeling rejected. Dr. Cood and Judy Gammon are here today because we're talking about that subject. Do we need, as the new entry to the family, the new wife, the new husband, what are the boundaries that we should set?
Well, one of the main and most powerful relationship bonding is between a biological parent and the biological child. So when the other person who's not the biological parent comes in, there really needs to be a very slow process, a very patient process and I encourage couples even the first year for the new spouse just to support the biological parent. Usually that first year in the biological parent's parenting process, what that does is it gives the other parent, the step parent, the credibility. You have to gain that relationship with the child in order to have any ability to really parent effectively.
So what you're saying is, if you're the new spouse, you need to take a back seat.
Right.
And not think you have to drive the whole thing. And don't start nagging because your spouse is spending time with the children.
For sure.
Support that.
For sure.
Be on their team. Remember what it's like to be a child and how you feel left out.
And that does relate to the boundaries, that once the new marriage has occurred, which needs to be the priority, I like the tennis court analogy where we need to draw a boundary around, that's the external boundary around the marriage that makes the marriage really good and solid, and also the net on the tennis court, the interpersonal boundary, because there are two people, two individuals coming together. And I think that external boundary is very important in terms of step parenting, because the other spouses, the mother and father who is not in the home, needs to stay out, and that because you're going to have two different sets of rules most of the time. And children are pretty flexible, very resilient. They'll know that there are differences, and when they step across the threshold of the new in the home, they'll know which set of
they'll
rules
know what to do. And one of the most important things I think is don't use the children as a tool to get at the ex-spouse, and don't badmouth the ex-spouse. Do not do that.
Don't do it. Eventually it comes to haunt, because eventually the kids grow up, they see both sides, and then they remember the bad things that were said. And by then, if the second marriage has worked out, they've developed a relationship with that person, and I think it causes friction that it was unnecessary and pain to children at such a young age. I came from a divorced family, and I still remember those moments, and they were very painful. And I was very fortunate that one parent did not do that. And I still remember that it was years ago.
And when we put the child in the middle, we call that triangulation. They're getting triangulated up into the adult dyad, and that's a lot of stress on the child as well.
Oh, it's awful. It's just awful.
Yeah. And as we know, the front of the brain is not even developed until the 20s. So you're asking these kids to process information that they just can't. I mean, their brains have not developed enough to process that information.
And when you say yes in your relationship with a parent who's got children, and you say yes to that commitment, make those children one of your commitments for your new spouse. Don't be raining down on what he or she should do. Just be patient. And
Susie, I'm so glad you're doing this segment, because more than half, about 60% of all children are going to grow up in this type of situation where they're going to be
that many?
That many. The majority now grow up in blending or step-parent homes or single-parent homes.
I think we have to end on this note because we've run out of time, but it's worth doing in depth, I think, really. There's so many things we could go. The reason that we wanted to bring it up, because we're getting ready to gather around tables this holiday season, and when we get into the place of being thankful, not just at Thanksgiving, but also at Christmas, just to remember that we tell ourselves about the power of being kind and patient and loving, because that is what the season's all about, regardless of what the circumstance is. We'll be right back.